And welcome back, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to another DreamHack Masters Atlanta 2022 Closed Qualifier. We're here in the land of the North Americas. I'm, of course, your host, Live VIP, and with me, I'll be joined once again by my lovely plushies. Welcome, welcome. I totally didn't wake up just minutes before the broadcast, and I totally wasn't up until 3 a.m. casting World Team League. It's been a very intense couple of days. It's been a very intense week, and especially night as well. As last night, actually over the past couple of days, the Ducklings have been fighting very, very hard in each of their respective regions. It's been honestly inspiring to see players like Dolan, Binsky will be playing later on, Dolan, PattyMac, Starduck, all kind of find success in their own regions, and of course we are going to be following their stories. Last night we were playing in World Team League as well, and we were playing against Team SSLT. Didn't go well for us in the end, but very exciting games. It was insane. It was beautiful. I highly recommend checking out the VODs, as one of the players that we're casting today was featured in said VODs. Here we go. We have a PvZ. Of course we do. We're going to be following one of our very own, one of our Ducklings. Vámonos, papi, vámonos. It all comes down to this. This is the closed qualifier for North America. We have 16 players and 8 of them will make it through in the end. Oh boy. And there we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of Cosmic Sapphire, we have the American Protoss player himself. Representing the CranKy Ducklings, it is PattyMac. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Cosmic Sapphire, we have the Canadian Zerg player representing Storm Gaming. It is Bioice. Let's go. PattyMac was fielded last night, by the way. He didn't have the most success as he was fielded against Firefly in a PvP, but this is a very different matchup as he is going to be going up against the Zerg player in Bioice. Did I say Bioice? I would say Firefly. Yeah, look, I'm still waking up. But yeah, Bioice is a very interesting player because he's been around for a very long time. For many, many years, Bioice has been competing, has been on many, many teams. I feel like the earliest that I remember Bioice, he was good friends with No Regret. I believe both Bioice and No Regret actually went to high school together and got into StarCraft together. So yeah, that's kind of how old school it is. I'll always remember, I'm pretty sure they actually played in the initial Archon tournament back when Legacy of the Void was first released. So yeah, it's been a long time. Since then, Bioice has been a little bit on and off when it comes to competing. There were a couple of years where he was retired. I want to say like 2018, 2019 sort of era. So yeah, where he was on a bit of a hiatus, but he has relatively recently come back to the game. He has been practicing quite a lot, but again, he's also not the most active player. So it's kind of difficult to place him at the moment. Obviously, he's good enough to be invited to this portion of the bracket. He did get a direct, I believe he got a direct invite into the closed qualifier. So yeah, he did kind of make it here off of his previous performances, but yeah, we'll see if he can keep going. Again, as a reminder, we have a lot of players, 18 players, half of them get knocked out, the other half do make it through. Oh boy. Meanwhile, so far, nothing too crazy. We do see PattyMac on the flip side of things going for a pretty standard opener. He is going for that Stargate back at home. Bioice still has yet to confirm that, as he does see that the first adept is going to be coming across the map. We even see PattyMac being a little bit annoying here as, ooh, we do see the cancel in time, just throwing down a pylon just to slow down that third hatchery. Bioice was forced to make a handful of links just to make sure that he was able to expand. Again, just like a little bit of annoyances, just skill checking each other. Nothing too crazy yet. Nothing yet, Poppy. Nothing yet. Meanwhile, I'm just quickly checking here. Yes, okay. I was just double checking. Yeah, the Bioice did get the invite from the previous season's performance. Meanwhile, we do have an Oracle coming across the map as well. We have seen a lot of PattyMac's PvZ recently, as we do have an Overlord going down. We have seen a lot of it recently. We have seen him go for 2 gate openers into Adepts, into Glaveless Adepts actually, and transitioning into Phoenixes. Honestly, a really kind of a flashy way to play out this style that we were able to watch a couple of days ago. But at the moment, everything looks pretty standard. We should be seeing a Twilight Council soon. The first Oracle is coming out, second is behind it. I imagine we're going to be seeing a triple Oracle opener, and PattyMac is set up to expand and take his third. Meanwhile, as the first Oracle moves out across the map, we do have a couple of links here checking the triangular third. It looks like he has guessed a little bit wrong here, but is going to be rotating over. And again, just being as annoying as possible, we do already have an Adept squeezed between the gas geyser and the pylon, so PattyMac should be fine against these handful of links. It should. At the same time, Oracle does get in across the map and gets 1 drone kill. Ooh, has to be careful though. There are 2 queens at the natural base, forces a recall, and will come back home. So again, the Oracle doesn't deal too much damage, but it's not designed to deal too much damage. The goal right now, and the reason why PattyMac can expand so quickly, is because we have 2 Oracles to defend, and Lings should never be able to DPS down this this Nexus with the assistance of 2 Oracles. So PattyMac is going to get his base up and running. Behind this, we have the Twilight Council, we have the Forge, we have +1. This is the hero style Oracle into Blink Stalkers. The difference though is that we did actually preserve our gas to go to the Twilight Council a little bit sooner. Meanwhile, with 2 Oracles, we can one-shot workers. 4 drones. Oh god! Ugh, 4 drones already going down. We just recalled, by the way, so PattyMac has to be very careful with his Oracle movement. Not bad when it comes to damage already. Meanwhile, a bit of a Ling run by. 2 probes are going to get picked off across the map as well. Aye. So again, PattyMac has to be so careful. The target fire is going to be okay, but once again, both Oracles will survive. 6 drones going down in total. Not bad, especially because the Oracles are still going to go back home. And again, the purpose of what I was talking about earlier of these Oracles isn't really to deal too much economic damage. It's really designed as more of a supportive unit to those Stalkers. Meanwhile, PattyMac fully walling up here at his third base, making run-bys nigh impossible. Run-bys which, especially in the mid-game, are going to be very important, especially bailing run-bys, which Bioice should be working towards. +1 melee is already on the way. Once we get +2 melee, bailings can start one-shotting probes. Oh boy. Honestly, the correct way to play against this hero style, against Stalkers, don't do well against Lings at all. Oh boy. So it's really cool to see Bioice, adapting to current meta. The last time we casted Bioice was in the previous season of DreamHack, and it's been a long time since that happened, to be honest. So it's really cool to see him here once again. Is able to keep up with said current meta. Lair's about to finish up. Both Oracles are still alive and still looking to dip in and deal some damage. I do worry a little bit. Again, these Oracles have sustained a lot of damage to them, and we only have 2 of them instead of the usual 3. So PattyMac is going to be relying a lot more on a mass gateway army on Blink Stalkers and Charge Lots. So a bit of a different variant here. As I say that, we do have a massive Ling run by across the map. The Oracles are nowhere to be found. We do see the Stalkers being a little bit aggressive. They do take down one of these Overlords, but the Lings are going to dive on top of this fort. With the help of one Adept, eventually this will be cleaned up. We have a couple of Stalkers here at the third base as well. Ling run by hitting both bases at once, but it looks like PattyMac should be able to defend both. Not without losing a couple of shield batteries. And PattyMac has to be a little bit careful here. He has lost 1 both at the 4th and the 3rd. Hopefully he does replace them soon, TM. There we go. We do have the first one being thrown down here at the 3rd base location. There it is at the 4th. PattyMac again, just playing this out as safe as possible and very defensive as well, at least until we can ramp up in that Stalker production. Ooh, massive pick off though. PattyMac getting caught out in the middle of the map, and this is where the Oracles come in. I like your surrounds, but at the end of the day, Oracles are going to be able to deal so much damage. We have a recall as well. 1, 2, I believe 3 Stalkers went down here, so not a bad trade here for Bioice, but it cost him a lot of Lings. 79 Lings have gone down this game. Aye. That's a lot of Lings, Poppy. That's a lot of Lings. Meanwhile, I also appreciate the composition of Bioice because he is going straight into a lair, going into his Hydra, so he's going Ling Hydra. We love to see it. We actually don't have a Bailey Nest, which is a little bit surprising here. So despite working on +2 melee, he's relying a lot more on just surrounds and on just dealing with the army, less so on going for bailing run-bys. And I don't know if that's the wisest choice. If essentially Bioice is saying, hey, I don't really intend to slow down the economy of PattyMac, and usually that's what you want to be doing against his style, just because the Protoss can really get can really start like overwhelming and start snowballing. Oh boy. Again, it just goes to show the importance of PattyMac going for these walls and going for these defensive positions. But it's possible that maybe Bioice sees this and he's like, you know what, look, bailing run-bys aren't going to work anyway. You know, I'm not going to try and get past these double-layered walls and get into the mineral line. May as well preserve my gas where it needs to be. And I appreciate that upon getting this hive, he is going into a very fast lurker den. And this is going to work well for Bioice, because going Ling Hydra into Lurker is a great way to just force a reaction out of PattyMac. His army right now is amazing against Ling Hydra, but Lurkers will cause a bit of an issue here. To be fair though, the Lurkers, they're not done. A little bit of creep being cleaned up here. PattyMac going to be pushing pretty deep onto creep, to be honest. We don't have any Bailings. We have one Lurker behind this. Boy, where's our detection? We have one observer coming across the map. We have a couple of oracles as well for those revelations. And I worry a little bit here for Bioice. One lurker it can do quite a bit, especially to deter the army. But if PattyMac recognizes how little there is, like, he may just push in anyway. Oh, but here we go. Lurker does reveal its spines. Oh, it does get revealed. And the first lurker is going to go down. Pushing up this ramp, though, into more lurkers is never a good idea. So PattyMac is going to be forced back once again. But drones are falling left and right here on the left-hand side. Bit of a zealot run by another revelation here on the majority of this army. No more Lings available to Bioice, and that means that these Hydras are exposed. The Queens are falling, the Hydras as well. We do have the Oracles activating their pulsar beams, trying to focus on whatever they can. And it looks like Bioice will barely force this back. But not without losing 15 drones and a base. Oh. And again, there just isn't enough here to protect these lurkers. If PattyMac wanted to, he honestly could probably dive on top of this, but it looks like he's not going to take that risk. He's going to back off, he's going to transition, and he's taking up into double disruptor production. Oh, let's go. And this is one of the harder things about Cosmic Sapphire here. In general, I was gonna say for Zerg, but again, in general, it's really difficult to get a 5th base because there's only one 5th here on the right hand side. Unlike some of the larger maps like Tropical Sacrifice or Data Sea, where you can kind of rotate between the left and right hand side of the map, here, like, it's nigh impossible to take this gold. So you have to expand in one linear fashion, and it makes it a little bit difficult to do so. It makes it easier for the attacking player to deny that. Speaking of, we do have a couple of Zealots here in the main base. It looks like with the help of these Hydras, the War Prism is going to go down. A bit of a Ling run by being set up towards the top right-hand corner of the map, and that's a lot of supply that's not going to be a part of this fight. Here we go. Charge Altanarkos pushing on forward. Not a lot of Lings here to help buffer for the Hydras or for the Lurkers. It looks like Bioice is forcing this a little bit back, but the Disruptors are here. First Nova is going to be able to zone away the army. The second Nova is going to connect with only one of these Hydras. So Bioice does, like, kind of dance well with these Disruptors. Does even take one down, but he loses a base. And the Zealots have gotten out of hand in the main base. 13 more drones go down. Hatchery goes down as well. PattyMac just bouncing back and forth between the left and right hand side of the map. We have another hatchery on the way, but still on the way, and the creep hasn't really been respread here. We just see an active creep tumor towards the north, but that is it. Zealots are already here. Oh no, the drones! No! Bioice, please! The drones that get here a little bit too soon. I mean, it looks like they're going to survive for the most part, but the hatchery does go down. Now Bioice, in a bit of a desperate attempt, is double expanding right now. His main army is looking okay. He's got 5 lurkers, and he got 5 more on the way, so 10 in total. Not bad. He does have lurker range, grew spines on the horizon as well. Oh, as he's losing more of these drones, and again, he's going to clean up these Zealots, but he's only trading with minerals. PattyMac can afford to lose these Zealots. We have another base on the way, 5th being thrown down. Not quite Nexus, but instead a wall of cannons and shield batteries. Bit of a Zealot round by being set up towards the top right-hand corner of the map. And there's just no pressure here on PattyMac. He can just play out his game as, oh god, there's a random lurker there. And we have a mothership? Why the hell not? We have a transition into Sky, Toss Puppy. Carrier is on the way. Mothership is coming in. We don't actually have any detection. Ooh. As the Novas are going to connect on almost every single one of these Zerkers. We do have a bit of a surround being set up here by Bioice, so best case scenario, but again, there's still just so much Protoss. And another Nova does go off as well. I mean, the Lurkers are great, but again, they're not quite in position. The army is able to just avoid them. And again, these are just losses that Bioice cannot afford right now. Another 2 Lurker. Every single Lurker goes down. And in come the reinforcements for PattyMac. Ay, ay, ay. As all this was happening, we did have that transition. 3 Stargates get thrown down, or 2 more after the initial one. Fleet Beacon and the carrier production has commenced. One of those moments where it's like, oh, he's got a mothership. Minus 400, minus 4. Right now, he's far enough ahead where he can do whatever he wants, okay? He's pushing on forward. Bioice trying to get these bases up and running. The Zealot Rumbites, they just keep pulling him apart, puppy. The 5th base is going to go down. The 4th is on fire as well. Oh my god, the Lurkers trying to come in. The Novas are going to be able to zone away the Hydras. Oh god! Oof. Yeah, not quite connecting, but it doesn't even matter. It looks like even the 3rd is going to fall. We actually don't have detection here though, so... Oh. Bioice is going to be able to repel this once again. But even without detection, it doesn't even matter. There we go. The Observer is going to be on the way. Zealots on left-hand side still going uncontested. And GG gets called. PattyMac will take the first game. Oh. GG. Honestly, PattyMac having a pretty well-controlled game. As in, it did feel like he was in full control that game. In the early kind of portions of game number 1, we did see that Bioice was going for a little bit of Ling counter-attacking, and he was able to apply a little bit of pressure to PattyMac. But outside of those first Ling run-bys, Bioice never left his side of the map. It never happened. Oh god. He was just stuck back at home the entire time, struggling to defend against the Oracle, struggling to defend against... I was going to say even the Blinkstalker pressure, but that's not true. If you recall, PattyMac didn't go for the typical new style of PvZ, where you're just going for mass gateways, +1, +2, and nothing but Blinkstalkers, and just being in the face of the Zerg player. No, he got a handful of Stalkers, and then transitioned into Zealous, and then got his Archons out. He was taking up, and again, it took him a long time to move out. Bioice had a lot of freedom to drone up and to get his ideal army out. But alas, he wasn't able to get there in time. And now spawning in the top right hand corner of Inside and Out, we have the American Protoss player representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is PattyMac. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Inside and Out, we have the Canadian Zerg player currently down in this series but not out, representing Psystorm Gaming. It is Bioice. Again, PattyMac having a very comfortable game. At the same time, I do think a lot of that comes down to the map itself. Cosmic Sapphire is a little bit larger. It is much more easier to defend on that map, sorry. There are so many choke points going into the 3rd and going into the 4th. It's relatively easy to wall off with your SimCity if you are Protoss. So again, Cosmic Sapphire was kind of the ideal map for PattyMac and for that style. We'll see what happens here on Inside and Out. A map that has a shorter rush distance, so if Bioice wants to be a little bit more aggressive, he can do so. So far, Bioice going for a Hatch Gas Pool opener. Everything's looking pretty standard from him, so no early pool, no early Ling Bane Bust or Roach Warren or anything like that. Everything is looking pretty standard for the time being. But again, there are options on Inside and Out. You know, we can clear up these rocks, we can open up some new attack paths as well. Pushing up into the natural can be a difficult thing to do, but when it comes to the 3rd or 4th bases, you know, we can try and abuse that as well, as there is no high ground advantage or anything like that. The pathways into these bases are relatively large as well, so again, it does take a lot of Protoss buildings to wall off. But, and also, when it comes to the Zerg player and what he can accomplish, Inside and Out is another one of those bases where you can expand in other directions a little bit easier. You know, we have the main, the natural, the third, the fourth, and then we have options for the fifth. We can expand over on the left or the right-hand side much easier than on Cosmic Sapphire, where the gold is just insanely out of the way. So if one base gets denied, we can just expand in the other direction, or just double expand and hope that one or both get up. So I do like Bioice's chances a little bit better here on Inside. But at the same time, we do know that PattyMac doesn't have to just play that same style. You know, he was very comfortable on Cosmic, he was making use and abusing the map in certain aspects. But on Inside and Out, he should be also adapting as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a little bit more in the face of his opponents. As a reminder, this is a best of 3, not a best of 5. After this series, we are going to be getting into a qualifying match, which will be that best of 5 that we're going to be looking for. Meanwhile, one adept gets across the map and ooh, the boys are being pulled. One drone will fall, but only one drone. Link speed is still a ways off, but despite that, just the micro on creep here by Bioice was insane, being able to body block and clean that adept up. Very nicely done. Meanwhile, so far, PattyMac, he's prioritizing his wall. Ooh, and he's going for the build! I mentioned it briefly at the start of Game 1. PattyMac, he is going for a 3-gate opener into a Twilight Council. Oh boy. So this is very offbeat. This is very PattyMac. I haven't seen another player do this, by the way, in PvZ. It just, I haven't seen it. I don't know if maybe Nina does this or maybe some of the other North American Protoss players. But Bioice is going to be rushing across the map with vanilla adepts, and behind this going into Glaives. He did this in World Team League a couple of days ago in one of our other matches, I believe against Dimaga, and honestly he used it to great success. So we go across the map with these adepts, we force a reaction, we force Lings, we force the Zerg player not to make drones, and we do have Glaives again to support this army and to just keep the pressure up. From here we should be going into double Stargate. So we'll see if he is going to commit to the same build or go for a different variant. So far, these Speedlings are doing a great job at catching out these adepts. And there we go. He does force a recall. 2 adepts are going to go down, but the rest of them are going to be saved. And honestly, this is pretty important. He did force out a mass amount of Lings, and they're going for a massive counterattack. PattyMac will have enough army to defend his natural, but what about his third? Here we go, they do get scattered. The adepts are going to be on their way here, but despite that, these adepts are going to get surrounded immediately. The rest of the army is going to respond, and it looks like we're going to see a cancel at that third base. Ooh, there it is, and the rest of the army is getting caught out as well. PattyMac, the wall is not a wall. Okay, there we go. He's going to warp in a couple more of these adepts. These things are doing so much damage already, and this is important. He is thinning the herd. He is thinning out these adepts before Glaives. Ooh. As 2 more probes are going to go down. Again, this is already a great amount of damage for Bioice. He can even pick off this pylon. PattyMac, he forced Lings, and he has to pay the consequences. Behind this, we do have that Stargate, but only one, and I do think this is an adaptation because he wasn't able to get this base fully saturated. There is a second Stargate, but we also have a Dark Shrine. Dark Shrine is going to help support this army by going into Archons, and Archons do amazingly against Lings, again, to support this ground army. So if you're wondering, what are these double Stargates for? Well, if you're watching World Team League, you will know the answer. It is Glaive Adepts to apply pressure, to deal damage, to contain your opponent, and we are going into Phoenixes. Phoenixes and DTs, so very Brood War-esque. That's kind of the analogy that we were making last time, kind of like the Corsair DT of old. The Adepts right now, again, are just going to be threatening the bases. If he can get some drone damage, then that'll be amazing, but he's going to be able to shade, and with all these roaches, oh, he does not commit. Again, just keeping Bioice back at home. What's important about that Ling Flood earlier is that that did eat into the drone count of Bioice, so PattyMac is actually ahead when it comes to the economy. He's ahead in workers, he's equal in bases, soon to be equal in bases, so Bioice is hurting because of that. Meanwhile, going into all these Phoenixes is going to give PattyMac a lot of map control. So it is going to be a bit of a 1-2 punch. Once the Overlords have been dealt with, once Bioice is stuck at home because of the Phoenixes and the Adepts, we are indeed going to be going into those Archons. So So far, so good. Again, PattyMac just trending time and time again. This time he will commit to the shade. I don't know if that's the best choice. Lings were already running and meeting him here, so every single adept is going to go down. And you would think that would be the trigger point here for Bioice to maybe go for a counterattack. But right now, ooh, 7 drones go down. Bioice is hurting so much in the drone count, down to 46. Ay, ay, ay. And now it's go time. The Phoenixes are going to reveal themselves. This is a bit of a surprise for Bioice, and recognizing that he has all these roaches that can't really do anything, he is just sending everything across the map. Oh, no, it turns around. Why does he turn around? Because there are DTs to defend. It's very methodical. He forces a counterattack of roaches. DTs do warp in defensively, and now, like, we have no detection. How do we deal with it? And even if we did have detection, they would the Overseer would die to the Phoenixes. So just like that, Bioice is forced to stay at home. We have our Forge. We're not going to see a mass commitment into these Phoenixes. I do think that this will be the last one because we don't want to eat too much of our supply. And we don't want to waste too much of our supply on Phoenixes. We still need that ground army. Meanwhile, a couple of overlords going down, a couple of gas mining drones as well. Queens, if they're ever to expose. Looks like one Phoenix will fall here, but only a single Phoenix, and the DTs are rocking up here at the fort. Thankfully, Bioice does have a couple of spores in position, so the DTs are going to be forced back for the time being, and there is that charge. I also appreciate that PattyMac isn't being overly aggressive. If you remember the game against Dimaga, PattyMac, he was able to deny the fourth and just contain his opponent, and he went for one big push. And he didn't recognize that Dimaga at the time was intentionally not droning and just focusing on his army supply instead, and PattyMac did end up losing that game. This time, PattyMac is taking this much more safely here, going for a fourth base at around the same time as his opponent. Just focusing a lot more on just harassing and just crippling Bioice, not going for the killing blow, not overextending. Phoenixes again dipping between the bases. 7 drones already do go down. Just going to be, again, containing Bioice to as few bases and as few workers as possible. Bioice has been able to drone up here to 82, but because of all the drone losses, like, he's getting here much later than he would like. And again, it is just slowing down not just his army, but his tech and every other which thing. Speaking of tech though, we do have our infestation bit. Hive is going to be on the way. We don't really have much of a Hydra army. Our army right now consists of these 9 roaches and that's it. So honestly, if PattyMac did go for his timing attack, he probably would have ended the game. But again, PattyMac is playing the safe. He doesn't want to throw anything away. He wants to make sure he's safe and secure, working on another robo, second robo on his disruptors, on his robotics bay. So he's going to be waiting for Bioice to push into him. As I say that, PattyMac is going to be moving out. We just have a 5th base on the way for Bioice on the right-hand side. Bioice has had a really interesting expansion pattern, by the way. Taking the left-hand base as a 4th isn't really too common, but I like it. You know, it does kind of pose as a launch pad here for all this creep. Speaking of, the Archon army is going to dip and poke a little bit here in towards the natural, is going to distract the ground army, and we have a Zealot run by here on the left-hand side. 4 drones going down, and so much lost mine time here at the fort. At the same time, Archons push in, but PattyMac has to be careful not to push in too far. There are so many roaches, so many hydras. These Archons aren't really going to find too much damage, but these Zealots will. As we have Zealots in the natural, the 3rd, and the 4th base. 7 drones go down. Eventually, Bioice will be able to go back to mining, but again, he sustained a lot of losses here, and once again, PattyMac takes a lead in those probes. Meanwhile, there we go, disruptors are on the way. We have +1 air attack, so PattyMac does intend to transition into Skytoss after this. There are already Hydras though, and honestly a decent Hydra count. We're getting the first wave of workers on the way. We're going to have 6 in total, not bad. So Bioice is not going to be in the worst position to go into Skytoss, but when it comes to the current ground army, I have to favor PattyMac. Boy, here we go. PattyMac reveals himself here onto Creep. At the same time, there's a little bit of a Zealot run by. Going to be forcing away some of the supply here from these Hydras. PattyMac pushes in, and the Lurkers are slow to respond. Uh-oh. Ooh, 2 Lurkers go down immediately, but we do not have detection. No, we do. Sorry, we do have 1 Observer with this main army. Bioice is going to be able to force this back. Ooh, even taking down some of these Phoenixes. Same time, another Zealot run by on the right hand side. Again, just going to be distracting some of the supply, just going to be keeping Bioice busy back at home. We have 9 Lurkers in total, 2 more on the way. Not bad whatsoever. And with the mass amount of Lurkers, again, PattyMac is having a hard time breaking this position. Oof. Disruptors are doing a great job at zoning and a great job at focusing down these lurkers. Oh my god, another lurker goes down. But again, breaking and pushing up a ramp just isn't really going to be a thing. It shouldn't be a thing. Uh-oh. I say that, but PattyMac turns around, and with these Phoenixes, he's going to be able to pick off these last 2 remaining lurkers. 2 more Novas go up, and I think... Oh my god, there's only 1 lurker remaining here. Okay, a couple more are being morphed in. Is it going to be enough? Up! It looks like it barely will. The Disruptors get taken down just in time. We do have a couple of flanking lurkers as well. PattyMac has to be very careful not to lose too much here, as he is going to trigger a counterattack. Another Nova going up. Oh god! Ugh. Bioice doesn't want to chase off creep, not with this slow, immobile army. And PattyMac backs off, and from here, he's got options. He can go into Skytoss. There is that Fleet Beacon. I do think the Fleet Beacon is a little bit late. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be lined up with +1 air attack. So it's going to take a while for PattyMac to take to the skies, so he's going to be stuck on ground toss for a little bit longer. Oh, this is brutal. 4 high energy queens go down to the Zealot run by. The creep is no longer going to be spread. Oh my god. As we only have a single queen left. So let's not even talk about creep. Injecting is going to be so difficult here for Bioice. He only has 4 hatcheries. He's trying to get a 5th up and running. He desperately needs it, not just for the economy, but also for the larva. Meanwhile, here we go. The mass lurker is pushing on forward. Oh my god! This choke point is not the way, puppy. It's not the way. We cannot push through this location. Bioice is gonna back off instead. But the aggression doesn't end. We do have Zealots here just harassing the 5th base. A DT waddling on in as well. PattyMac once again has map control. Another Zealot run by being set over towards the left-hand side. This hatchery is so low, and honestly, PattyMac just has to focus down. There he goes. He goes for it. And he will get the base. And you know what? The Fleet Beacon is now done. We have a couple of DTs in the natural. They will be cleaned up, but the carriers are on the way. Does PattyMac even need them? He takes down the 4th, and he will also take down the 5th. Bioice going for a mass around. He does have a lot of lurkers, but it looks like there is going to be a way out here for PattyMac. He is able to slip through the clutches of Bioice, and GG gets called. PattyMac will take the series 2-0. In very PattyMac's fashion. GG. Going into a 3-gate opener, into Glaive Lesser Depths, into Glaive Adepts, into double Stargate Phoenix. Oh. G. Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. Oh, God. So PattyMac is able to take the series in the end. It was great to see his signature build, by the way. It's something that he does whip out quite often in a best of series against Zerg. And he's pretty comfortable with it. He's all about it.